I've worked with every level of testing, that is available, from swab testing to air quality testing to involving industrial hygienist. I've not come across anything that is as accurate as using a canine to find hidden mold within the home. It's just a very difficult thing because, you go to work all day and then you come home and it's like that should be the space that you can feel like you can rest and relax and recover. And whenever you're just so worried that, did this take care of all of the issues? Are there issues elsewhere? We're trying to get healthy. We're doing all of these medical things. Like, is this actually going to work? Is the house taken care of? I think that Mold Dog really fits to answer a lot of those questions and help people get that certainty that they're looking for. I actually just got my first industrial hygienist report back from a client that wanted to share it with me. They had done a canine inspection first, and then the industrial hygienist had gone through and did their full inspection and still actually marked all of the areas that the canine had alerted on and still wrote it in their scope of what they recommended to do.
Scott Sunzer here again, speaking to Caleb from Mold Dog Network one more time. How are you doing today, Caleb?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Good, no problem. Well, obviously you guys do mold dog inspections, which are a super reliable way of finding mold in your home. But when a homeowner suspects mold in their home, when should they choose you over something like an industrial hygienist, air testing, swab testing, just standard, get a remediation company out? Like, why should they choose you? When should they choose you?
Sure. Obviously, I think I'm a little biased after all of the experience. I mean, I come from a remediation background. I've worked with every level of testing, that is available, from swab testing to air quality testing to involving industrial hygienist. I've not come across anything that is as accurate as using a canine to find hidden mold within the home. As far as which part of the process, I think that over time, I would love to see the industry shift to people investing in this type of inspection at the forefront of trying to figure out like where that the issue is, because there's a lot of value to essentially the best parts of a canine inspection is that you have the results the same day. You're not waiting on laboratory test results. Hidden compartments that are not accessible by mold remediation companies or industrial hygienists without demolition. You know where that the mold is hidden throughout the home. And obviously there are costs associated with the canine inspection, but those costs are heavily offset by having to or being able to avoid multiple rounds of remediation, just dealing with issues as they come up instead of remediating the house as a whole. Whenever, just addressing multiple issues at the same time can save them thousands and thousands of dollars. So I'm a really big fan whenever clients would do it a little bit earlier. Obviously, my preference, we've seen some clients shift that have been experienced or interacted with mold in the past and have gotten sick. We've had people start using us for new home inspections. Really big fan of that. Just trying to identify if the new home has some hidden issues during their due diligence period. But I would say the majority of people, that come to Mold Dog now have kind of been through the free visual inspections. They have positive test results that tell them they have mold, but they don't know where it is. They've contacted an industrial hygienist, but they're just not sure if everything has been covered, if there's any hidden issues. I think that they're just in kind of a worried state or a paranoid state. And I think that that's where Mold Dog is fitting in really well right now, is that, hey, we will come in, we'll help you identify any more hidden sources of mold, and then you can continue on performing, getting a remediation plan and getting the home taken care of.
Yeah, and then you get the certainty. Like, we've been in that situation where it's like, we know we've got mold in the house, but we know it's here, but is it anywhere else? How do you know?
Exactly.
And
Yes.
that just caught you, your mind starts going, and then you just can't stop thinking about it. You just end up feeling unsafe in your own home, and having that certainty just completely gets rid of that.
That is a very, very important thing that I talk to clients about and that I see my clients go through, is just this feeling of feeling unsafe in the space that they should feel the safest in. It's a very jarring emotional experience. I know you've been through it with you and your wife. It's just a very difficult thing because, you go to work all day and then you come home and it's like that should be the space that you can feel like you can rest and relax and recover. And whenever you're just so worried that, did this take care of all of the issues? Are there issues elsewhere? We're trying to get healthy. We're doing all of these medical things. Like, is this actually going to work? Is the house taken care of? I think that Mold Dog really fits to answer a lot of those questions and help people get that certainty that they're looking for.
Yeah. So you mentioned earlier that you come from a remediation background. You've got experience with all this different kind of testing. What is it that air tests and swab tests actually tell you, and what don't they tell you?
Sure. So air test and swab test are good tools, but they definitely have limitations. I would say I'm more of a fan of swab testing because it gives a little bit more control of the environment that you're testing in. Whenever I was, doing mold inspections or anything like that, I was always more partial instead of an air capture to swab the interior of an HVAC system or the filter in an HVAC system because I know the air is passing through there, and I know that's a very common problematic area for air quality. And then air quality test. The only issue with air quality test and swab test is it's just a gamble if I missed the colony by an inch on a swab test and there actually is an issue in the cavity that I'm testing, but it just didn't get touched by the swab. And then for an air capture, you are, hoping that the spores that are in the home travel through the air capture at the time that the 5 minute test is taking place. So those are, two of the most common issues is that they are just not as accurate as using something like a canine where she can smell that scent cone from such a distance and be able to go and identify where that these, colonies and stuff are hiding. To put it in a joking manner, it's why that, airports and the TSA and stuff don't do, air quality test for explosive devices.
Mm.
Like it's just you're hoping that you get those components or something like that. But we've really never been able to surpass a canine's ability in that space to identify those really really important things, and that's kind of how we take mold inspections. So
Yeah, and I mean, canines are just so trainable as well, which
they are so much fun to work with. They are crazy. They are excited. They have so much energy. We've done a lot of things to help temper that and make sure that our training processes and stuff are, very, very much up to par. We employ handlers with previous law enforcement or military experience, which has been such a fun experience for us because the people that we've been employing to be full-time handlers for our canines, they have worked with dogs in the past. This gives them opportunity to continue working with canines in a civilian capacity, which is just phenomenal for them because there's not a lot of job opportunities for people that want to work with canines every day other than law enforcement and military. And that can put them in some dangerous situations and different things like that. And then our business model of having full-time handlers allows me and my business partners to focus on growing the business and doing things like this while our handlers are training the canines for 2 to 3 hours every single day. They're taking them to different public spaces like, different department stores and different things like that and doing training exercises with them. They are doing different test houses and hiding samples and different things and different just test locations and stuff just to make sure that we're maintaining accuracies with the dogs. And then we get our canines recertified once a quarter to make sure, by the trainers and stuff that we use to make sure that they are extremely up to par and make sure that, the canine and the team that we're putting into a client's house is just the most qualified to find and address the issue. And that we really, really prioritize that training aspect because it's so easy to you can get a canine trained to find a specific substance, but it's not just a one and done thing. It's a continual process over time. So that's very, very important to continue working with them every single day and maintaining their accuracy instead of just saying, oh, my dog's trained to find mold. Now I can just do this for the next 6 years. And, I think that that's a really important discrepancy or difference and stuff in Mold Dog Network versus some other canine inspection services.
yeah. Just one sec. Going back to the air testing we were just talking about, I think you mentioned about it, the air's just kind of flowing over this thing, and it depends on whether the mold's in the air at the time, or we've spoken about it before. Does that mean that air testing could actually come back as reading normal when actually there is a significant mold problem somewhere in the home?
I've actually had that happen to me before and on several occasions. So I can kind of speak from personal experience. Air testing is just so dependent on so many different factors of, are you doing the air capture in the correct place? Is the baseline outside going to really give you a good comparison of what's going on inside of the home? Is the air that you're capturing, is it actually identifying mold spores and stuff that are hidden behind wall cavities or behind cabinets that could could still be affecting the air, but maybe just didn't make its way into that air capture. So I had strayed away from air captures during my inspection processes and stuff in the past. I used more swab samples, as a form of a little bit more control. But yeah, there are definitely limitations and stuff in the accuracy of that form of testing. And I think that, I've obviously come to prefer using tools like the canines and stuff over doing that type of testing because it tells you if you have a problem. It just doesn't tell you where that you have a
Mm.
problem or how like severe of a problem that you have. The canine kind of solves all three of those things. So.
Yeah, and I mean, how do industrial hygienists factor in here? Like, what do they do that you don't, and vice versa?
Industrial hygienists are still a phenomenal tool for people to use. And I would encourage people that I've actually worked with a lot of industrial hygienists in the past, even, as we started to do the canine inspections. And I actually just got my first industrial hygienist report back from a client that wanted to share it with me. They had done a canine inspection first, and then the industrial hygienist had gone through and did their full inspection and still actually marked all of the areas that the canine had alerted on and still wrote it in their scope of what they recommended to do. So I think industrial hygienists are phenomenal tools to continue to use, and they're phenomenal people, and I think they're very good at their jobs. I think that we just solve two different things. So the canine inspection is just an inspection-based service that will show you where the mold is on the same day, and if mold is hidden behind cavities that can't be found during normal visual inspections. An industrial hygienist has an extreme amount of education on identifying water intrusion issues in the home, finding more sources of what could be causing these issues, and then they actually write a third party scope of recommended work to be done by a mitigation company that is so extremely valuable for mitigation companies and clients to follow because it allows you to have just a standardized third party wrote this scope. This is the scope that you need to follow. This follows all of the national standards. And this is exactly what needs to be done in the home. I think that the canine has just become a new resource for industrial hygienists to be able to be more accurate in their inspections.
And how does lab testing fit in here? Are there occasions when lab testing is still useful after a mold dog inspection?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that lab testing is great for client peace of mind. And then also if a client is pursuing any medical type of, trying to detox their body from mold exposure, knowing the types of mold that you're dealing with is extremely useful in getting the proper treatment from whatever medical route that the clients are going through. So laboratory testing, that is what can tell you what type of mold that you're dealing with in the home. So it still has a very valuable use. I think I've just moved away from thinking of it as a way to like really identify what needs to happen in the home and where the issue is, and more of just a tool to give the client more information.
Yeah, so it's useful from a medical perspective, but not from a inspection remediation perspective. Is that right?
Yes, I believe so. And I think that there are some use cases of just identifying. Sometimes clients want to do laboratory testing to just see if they have a problem initially before they go down these routes of using things like a canine inspection or industrial hygienist. So I think it's a very useful preliminary tool. And then also, laboratory testing is extremely crucial in what we would call in the industry PRV, which is post remediation validation. Any good remediation company should be using PRV, which is using or recommending that the client use an impartial third party to come in 24 to 48 hours after the remediation done and testing the areas that were worked on by a lab to identify if there is a continual problem or if remediation was done correctly. We've actually done some PRV ourselves with the canine, which has been a really fun experience for us. So the client has used the canine as a post-remediation validation tool where we've done the initial inspection. The remediation company has finished the remediation in all of the areas. We send, one of our canine teams back through to double check all of the areas that have been worked on because our canines are only trained on smelling actively growing colonies. That's what produces a scent,
Hmm.
not like, treated colonies or dead colonies or any colonies that have been removed from the environment. So the canine can actually be used as a post remediation validation tool, but that, can be, congruently or used in tandem with laboratory testing or anything like that. But I think laboratory testing's most important area is that post remediation validation for the client after the remediation is done. because then the cavities are all opened. They have a lot more access. They can do a lot more thorough testing and different things like that.
Mm. And right, so you'd get them in before the rebuild part starts.
Exactly. Yep. Just to make sure that all
Yeah,
of
yeah.
the areas have been properly remediated.
Yeah, that makes so much sense because especially if you've done the initial inspection, you've got the same dog doing the same inspection. That's got to be a
Yeah,
really
sure.
clear. Yeah, you've dealt with the problem now.
Yeah, exactly. I love when clients use this as a resource for remediation validation. A lot of clients build trust in our canine teams because we help them identify the problem initially. We've done a lot of consultative type of work to help clients try to figure out what the next steps are after a canine inspection. So I think clients just come to trust us based on our experience in the industry and then what we're working on now. It always makes me feel good whenever they trust us enough to do, the post remediation validation with the same canine team is really fun for me. So
Yeah, so if someone is thinking, yeah, I want you guys to come out and do a new home inspection, or I just need you guys to come and take a look at my house. But where do you actually serve? Where can we book you?
yeah, we serve on a statewide basis right now. We have two teams, one located currently in central Kentucky that services all of Kentucky, Ohio, and Indiana, with the willingness to travel outside of those areas as long as travel costs are covered by the clients. And then we just put our newest team based out of Nashville, Tennessee, which is really fun for us to start serving Tennessee and the surrounding states, Alabama and different areas like that. So we're starting to expand. Our next team that we would love to place is actually in the central Ohio region, so we can start serving more places like Illinois and just surrounding states around Ohio. So our plan is to have a canine team in all 48 contiguous states, and then maybe put one in Alaska and Hawaii. That would allow us to serve just really anybody that needs to be served. That is our hope. That's our business model. That's what we're working towards. It's really a product that we believe in. It's a product that we believe that can help so many people with an issue that a lot of people are dealing with that they don't even know that they're dealing with. So having a team in all 50 states would just be a dream come true. And then I guess we'll put a dog wherever you're at in the UK. you know, we'll consider that next. But right now, I would say that our service areas are based in Kentucky and surrounding states, Tennessee and surrounding states, and then with the willingness to travel, with additional travel costs if the client is interested in having us do their work.
Yeah, awesome. I mean, global mold dog network would be incredible.
Well, that was a part of the branding, and that's why we branded it this way.
Yeah, yeah.
We could have chosen any different names for the mold canine inspection service. We could have gone on a smaller scale or something like that and done more of a mom and pop type of marketing. But just we saw the vision at the beginning that this could be such a huge key player in the industry, and we wanted to establish a name brand that people can trust and that reflects our values of having a network of trusted individuals. And it also allows us, I think our hope is to have people like industrial hygienists and mitigation companies, be a part of the Mold Dog Network, to be a part, and certified partners and to work on solving this problem with us. And we want to be able to give them badges to put on their websites. We want to be able to help them in accomplishing what we're all trying to do, which is fix a problem for the client and make sure that people aren't sick in their homes anymore. So I think that we just branded it from the beginning to be this big, beautiful vision that we're slowly working towards. And obviously, placing multiple canine teams is the first step in that process. So we've got the Central Kentucky one. We were super excited about. In Nashville, our handler that we found has actually done a lot of the bomb inspections and school inspections for dangerous substances with canines for the last like 30 years.
Yeah,
So
right.
having his experience working with canines has been so much fun. And he's so excited to be working with us. And then we have another dog finishing training that we will probably be placing either in the central Cincinnati or central Indiana area, here in the near future. And we're just going to keep expanding the canines one state at a time.
So cool. Just one last question. This is
Yeah,
purely
sure.
my curiosity, but are you expecting to get more or less mold dog inspections in different states? Because obviously mold only grows in certain humidities, it only grows in certain temperatures. I'm just like, are you thinking you get a lot in Alaska because homes are going to be more shut up, or not because it's colder? Like,
I thought that we would deal with more seasonality, but there are so many different factors and stuff that can cause hidden mold issues in a home. But obviously, there are going to be more areas that are based off of like population density. You have a lot more homes in a lot denser areas. That's going to help. There are states like Kentucky that deal with a lot of humidity issues, a lot of rain issues, and different things like that. That's more of an environmental factor where you're dealing with mold. But you also have other states, Arizona, California, even drier places that are still having issues with new home construction, exterior water intrusions coming into the home from the outside whenever it rains. Plumbing issues are never going to go away. Pipe leaks, water heater bursts, sink leaks, dishwashers failing that are causing hidden issues in the home that the client can't find and identify. So I don't really have any intimidation, hence the reason that we want to put a canine in every single state. We think
Yeah.
it's a big enough problem, and we know it's a big enough problem that, we can service, anyone, anywhere.
Yeah. Man, that's cool. And it's such an exciting vision. It's going to be awesome when you get there. And like in 5 years, you guys are just going to be massive, I think.
It's such a fun journey so far, and we're already treating it like we're already there. with a lot
Yeah.
of the processes with a lot of the processes and stuff that we've established. Obviously our employment processes of finding certified handlers, I think that we're not pulling people off of the applications and stuff that don't. We try to find people that have had canine experience, that know what it's like. I mean, that's not a 9 to 5 job. I mean, you're taking your canine partner home, you're making sure that they're well fed. We have a multiple vet visits, way more often than a normal pet owner, just to make sure that our canines are safe. There's a lot of factors that are going into that hiring process that's building a team of very, very qualified and capable individuals. And it's really fun because we are working with people that love their work. They love working with canines. They don't just treat it like a 9 to 5 job that they clock out of. They want that partnership every single day. They want to help people with what they do. They want to feel validated in their work. And I think that has just helped the clients so much, working with people that know what it's like. They know the severity because of their experience and the intensity of their work. They know how serious that they need to take their training. There's just so many factors that go into it. That's made me really proud of our team, and really proud to be able to help people, continue to work with us in the future, because I think it's just the best amount of money, and it's the most fun that you get to have working with a dog every single day, and
Yeah.
and you're in typically safe environments. So I think it's just so phenomenal. So I've had a lot of people say, I want that job, and sometimes I get a little jealous of it because
Yeah.
obviously I have a lot of things to work on. But our handlers, they really do have phenomenal lifestyles, and they take such good care of our canines, and they do such a good job to help people. I'm really proud of them.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time again, and we'll speak again soon. You have a great day.